welcome back to Rue's Life. So as promised, finally it's here, the June plot tour. So let's spin that camera around and I will show you what's going on. So for a change, I'm actually going to start here in the shed because there have been a few new subscribers recently and you may not have seen inside my little shed. So we're starting with my lovely calendar, which I have on the back of the door, and on the 21st there I need to be putting in more nematodes, which I have ordered, and when they arrive I will pop them in the fridge. And at the moment it's relatively neat and tidy in here, so I've got my little stove, plenty of cups, tea, coffee, all the essentials. I've got my books there in the corner, my lovely chair, a few little knickknacks, and then this is the practical side of things. So I have gardening gloves here, lots of markers, bits and pieces and sorts of things you stick in the ground. In the corner here I've got plenty of green netting, there's some weed suppressant membrane there. Down here I've got my stash of toilet tubes, which I sometimes use for sowing and growing and then planting direct into the ground while still in the tubes. This is my solar powered fan, which I use in the Polytunnel. There's a few little bits and pieces in that bag. Here we've got my trugs and then propagators and trays, plant pots, and then I've got my hand tools here, plenty of bunting because what's life without bunting, dibbers, my ropey strings, what are their proper names? Somebody drop it in the comment below. I've not long come off a night shift, so brain not functioning as well as it should, but you know what I mean. They're for marking out plumb line strings. There you go. Are they plumb lines, or are they only things that dangle down the way rather than go across the way? But you know what I mean. A few other bits and pieces, and then my canes and long handled tools. So let's get outside to where things are really happening. So I'm still just standing inside the shed. We're just at the shed door here. Here we have my table and chairs. I do need to trim. The grass has grown a little bit since I last did it, but I've just come off a run of night shifts and we've been having the perfect growing conditions of rain and sunshine, which is great for the crops but not so great for the weeds. So I do need to get on top of that. And then you can see I've got my little bird feeder. Across to the right there you can just see the corner of the hanging basket and the geranium, but this is the Wildflower Meadow and we'll get closer to that in a moment. And then obviously we've got the pathways, the squash bed with no squashes in it yet, and then round to the other beds and the polytunnel. So let's get moving. The hanging baskets on the shed, this one's looking lovely. They're not really trailing, they're trying to grow up, but eventually I'm hoping they will trail down a little more. That one is flowering, that one not yet, but there are little buds, so it's going to come. And then moving around to the window box. Interestingly, the two geraniums that I bought aren't flowering yet, but my saved one that I managed to overwinter in the polytunnel is flowering. But it's still early days and they're coming. So while I'm here, let's spin around slowly and I'll see if I can show you some of the Wildflower Meadow. So it's going to take some time to establish, but it's coming, and you should just be able to see we've got some poppies, there's some other little bits and pieces in there. Let's get a bit closer to some of the poppies because there's some red ones, but there's some beautiful pink ones. So just look at that, isn't that just delightful? And I'm not sure actually that if the camera will be picking up its true colour, but it's a beautiful, beautiful pink. And then we've got some red poppies. Here's one. And slowly, slowly, things are starting to come. And I'm really, really pleased. And the plan with this is that next year I'm going to pop in some more oxeye daisies and some more cornflower. So I'm going to start outside because I think it may rain, so let's get the outside beds done now and then we can hop in the polytunnel, and then if it rains it doesn't matter. So starting with the flower bed, I did lose quite a lot of the flowers that I put out, but some are establishing themselves quite nicely and I've got plenty more going in the polytunnel. And of course I did put those initial flowers into this bed a little bit too soon. I was a little bit eager and I hadn't waited for my nematodes to kick in, and I got quite a lot of slug damage. However, we have got, this is the Rudbeckia, which is looking really, really healthy. I don't know if you can just see, the alliums have gone a little bit tall and leggy. Let me just reach in, because it's not always easy to show, but we have got a few of these alliums here, so they're coming. I know that alliums are supposed to be tall, but these are particularly skinny, so I'm hoping that they'll improve as time goes on. The lavender is looking a little bit sorry for itself, but it has been flowering and it's been lovely. I think it just needs to settle itself down a bit. These are some Californian poppy, and then we'll just move down to the other end of the bed. Here we've got some calendula, and the variety is Funky Stuff, and I'm really looking forward to seeing those flower. And then behind them some Californian poppy. There was a wild bird mix which I actually put in over here, and I think what we've got is a couple of sunflowers. They are getting eaten by the slugs, but they seem to be holding their own, particularly this big one here. Then we've got some more Californian poppy, some more allium just here, and then here we've got some cranesbill, which has been flowering and looking really, really pretty. So that's the flower bed. And next we have the squash bed and squash frame, which is ready to receive when the squash are established enough to go out, but obviously there's nothing in there yet. And then let's move across to the Brassica bed. So first thing you might notice is Chris's fantastic beer traps. So here we've got, basically they're plastic milk bottles, and Chris has cut out little windows so we can get the beer in, but they're covered to try and keep some of the rainwater, and also when we're watering to just keep the beer in and the rain out. And they're really successful, and we've actually gone a bit nuts in here because obviously they're brassicas, we know how much the slugs like them. So we've got one here, we've got one here, we've got another two of the milk bottle type, but I've also got the original little trays that I put in, and there is one at the far end there as well. And as you can see, the brassicas are looking pretty good. So again, they are quite crammed in. Again, any of you that follow me will know that I do tend to cram lots of things into smaller spaces, but I do have success, so I carry on doing it the way that works for me. It might not necessarily be the way it's done in the books or other growers do it, but I don't have the biggest of beds, and this system works for me. So as you can see, things are looking really healthy. So these are my Brussels sprouts. I can't actually remember which variety they are, and for some reason I haven't put a label, so I must pop a label on there. You can just see some California poppy, which are in the corner, and they're flowering and they look really, really pretty. Here we've got some dwarf green curly kale, and that's starting to look nice and healthy. I have got some more to put out at some point. And then moving along, we have got purple sprouting broccoli, some younger plants, and then a couple that are already starting to give me some pickings. And then moving along, we have got cabbage, and we've got two varieties. We've got the greyhound and the golden acre. And then moving along again, we've got some younger cauliflower all the year round, and then these are the ones that had been overwintered in the polytunnel as little seedlings, and you can see that they're really starting to come on now. So I'm really pleased with the way that everything's coming along, and minimal slug damage at the moment. And of course I've got my netting over to keep the old cabbage white butterflies at bay. So let's move on to the onions. So the onions are looking fantastic, and I'm going to give you a close-up of a couple of them. And in fact, I don't think it's going to be many weeks before I'm harvesting. And you can also see that despite weeding and weeding and weeding those California poppies, and there's a few other bits in there, I've now just allowed those to flower and to flourish, because they do look so pretty. Of course, they're great for attracting the pollinators, and if I've got California poppies, I've got less of the weeds that I really don't want, and it just looks delightful. And then at the end of that bed we've got the celery, which is looking really good. And those of the keen-eyed of you will notice that I have actually moved Ollie Owl into a slightly different location. We thought he was a bit bored and he fancied a change of scenery, so we've just hopped him across to that side of the bed. So let's get in a bit closer and I'll show you some of these onions. So look at that absolutely gorgeous looking onion. A few of them have bolted, so I have actually chopped the tops off. Here, let's move along so you can see one. So we've got a few of these onion scapes, but we actually chop them and we use them, and they're really tasty. They make a fabulous onion scape gravy. And then there is the celery, which I really need to get a good harvest off. It will chop and freeze, which is great for adding into sauces, soups, casseroles and the like. So next, this is actually bed number 1. So my beds are numbered, this is 1, 2, 3 is the Brassica bed, 4 is the squash bed, 5 is the fruit bed, and 6 is the flower bed. And they are only numbered that way because that's the order in which I created the beds. So in bed number 1 here, there's not much germination going on at the moment, but I've got here some beetroot, a couple of different varieties which I've direct sown, and some carrots, which are the little globe variety. And then at the other end of the bed we've got the chives that are doing really well, and then we've got these turnip, little bit of slug damage on those, but they're doing okay. And then there was just a row of beetroot seedlings that I popped in as well, so they're doing all right. It's covered to keep the birds off. Let's move on to the fruit bed and Chris's fabulous creation. So at the far end, and we will get a little bit closer, we've got in the tall area, we've got the autumn fruiting raspberries, and then the rest of the bed is just full of strawberries. And again, it's netted to keep the birds out. The raspberries, it will be their first season of fruiting, so I'm hoping for a good harvest. The strawberries, this is their second year, and I'll be honest, I did lose an awful lot to the birds last year, so I'm hoping this year with the netting to have an absolute abundance of strawberries. So I'm hoping that the camera will pick this up, but look at these strawberries, and every plant is laden with them. And they're still flowering, and then we've got a few that are starting to fatten up nicely. So yeah, really pleased. And then let's just move along to the raspberries. And then what Chris has done, let's move around so I can show you properly, hang on. You can see that there's actually chicken wire at the base of this, and then again, let's just move around, let's do it slowly so I don't make you dizzy. So it's chicken wire at the bottom, the finer mesh at the top, and then chicken wire here. And it means that the pollinators, particularly the bees, can actually get in, busy themselves around and still get out. So that was Chris's lovely design, and it's working really well. So already, what a transformation from a month ago. Things are starting to really come on. So let's go and have a look at the rhubarb, and then we'll get inside the polytunnel. So I really need to get some more rhubarb harvested. This is its absolute, ultimately fantastic year for this plant. Started off as seeds in the polytunnel, and I think this is its third year now, and it's just wonderful. And then a little bit more rhubarb here, lurking away in a very untidy, tangly corner next to the compost bays. But I do need to get this moved at some point. It's in this tub. It occasionally gets forgotten about, and then I water it when I remember, but I need to get it moved. But, you know, it's coming okay. And that was some rhubarb given to me by one of my sisters. So let's get into the polytunnel. So there's lots going on in here. I've had a really good old tidy up. These pots are empty at the moment, but ready for when I want to put things in. I've managed to get some more compost. I couldn't get hold of the peat free, and it was the next best thing I could get. So this is significantly reduced peat. So I'll see how it goes. I do try very much to use peat free. As I say, it's reduced. It's the best I could get. I've just got a little bit left, just this little bag here of the Dobby's peat free, and I have to say it was actually not bad at all. Not brilliant, but not bad. We're all struggling a little bit at the moment to get hold of decent peat free compost, and that was not a bad one. So we'll see. This is Westland's Jack's Magic, and 3 for £12, I think. Actually, our local feed merchants, where we get the feed for the livestock. So let's have a look at the staging first of all. So here we have got some squash, I've got some scallop yellow bush, another scallop yellow bush, another scallop yellow bush. We've got a pumpkin jack-o'-lantern, so that'll be interesting to see. I'm not entirely sure where he's going to go yet, but that'll be one of the big ones for carving, which we can enjoy, hopefully, for Halloween. Then we've got some Waltham butternut. I've got a couple of those. Finally, my Ukiki-kiri are starting to germinate. Let's get a little bit closer. So the Ukiki-kiri are my absolute favourites, but they've been really slow to germinate this year, and this is actually my second sowing. So we've got one, and then there's another one just poking its little head out. And I think there's another Ukiki-kiri somewhere, but I can't recall where it is. We'll see how we go. What's this one? Oh, that's another Waltham butternut. So let's see how we go with those. And then in the similar vein, there's another Crown Prince here. This is a cucumber masterpiece. These are cucumbers, and they are, let me just have a check, Market More 76. Then we've got one courgette, all green bush. There were 4 sown, only 1 germinated. But then I've got some more courgettes here, and these are tricolour F1. I've got 2 germinated, and they are the little round type. Then, great excitement, drum roll, bum bum bum, fanfare. I have got some germination on my watermelon. So I've got the watermelon sugar baby and watermelon grey bell, and I'm always thanking Ali in my videos, but yet again, Ali, you're a lifesaver. Thank you so much. I'm so excited about these. Haven't decided where I'll be growing them yet, probably here in the polytunnel. But hashtag Transatlantic Melon Challenge. Go and check out Jane's allotment if you haven't already. Check out her Facebook page, check out her YouTube channel, and get yourself involved if you're a grower with the Transatlantic Melon Challenge. Great fun. My first year, and thanks to Ali. Even though we're rivals because you're across the pond, she has saved the day and sent me some seeds. So moving back, I know brassicas, I've just gone crazy, haven't I? So I've still got various of the brassicas, we've got sprouts, we've got cabbage, we've got purple sprouting broccoli, all really needed to be either potted on or got out into the ground. I will be gifting some of these to some work colleagues who've also got gardens and vegetable plots. Here, these are really desperate to be potted on. These are pepper and they are de Cayenne, and they're looking really healthy, but I do need to get them out of that pot to give them a chance. Here we've got some basil germination. These, great sentimental value to me. So we recently lost Chris's mum, and in amongst some of the things that I was able to take, she was a great lover of gardening, and she had some lupin seeds that she'd saved from her garden, and they've germinated. So yeah, I'm really hoping that they're going to do well, and I'm going to be able to sit and enjoy some of Dot's beautiful lupins. Then we've got a couple of forget-me-nots that have germinated and doing okay in that pot. We've got some Perpetual Spinach. I've got some Digitalis, which is your foxglove. Here we've got some Cosmos. So we're moving now into the flowers which will be going into the flower bed, but I want to get them more established, and a combination of them being established plants, and I've got on top of the slug problem, I'm hoping that these are going to do well. So we've got some Cosmos. We have got some Marigold from Ali. I've got a Dahlia. There was a few, but only one's doing well. They were grown from seed. We have got some Zinnia. These are Livingston Daisy. These are Sweet William. We've got some Snapdragons, more Snapdragons. Here I've got more marigolds. These are the Ali's giant marigolds. And then here I've got, started from seed in a tray, and now I've popped them into these little units, are lupins, again grown from seed. Then we've got a whole row of dwarf green kale, which really needs to be potted on. At the back there we've got tomatoes, and you really can see that when you put one into an individual pot, they were all sown at the same time. Some have been potted on properly, some haven't. I need to get on top of those, but look at the difference. That's a much healthier plant than these, which are still crammed into that little pot, and the variety is money maker. Then in the corner there, I really need to get those out of that pot. That's the celeriac, which has been in there for far too long. And then here, I don't know if you can just see, we've got some chive seedlings, which again I need to move on. Let's do the hanging baskets next. So I was gifted a packet with lots of little packets in it. So I've put them into the hanging baskets, and they're kind of salady type things and herbs. So here we've got rocket. And then we've got the 3 hanging baskets here. This one is a herb mix. The one at the very back there is an Italian leaf mix. This is thyme, and there's no germination on that yet, but it's early days. And then the hanging baskets on the other side, this is basil, and we've got a little bit of germination on that. And then these are chives, which historically I've been rubbish at growing from seeds, and the chives which are established now on the plot were given to me as an established plant, split from one of my sister's gardens. So we'll see. And then the only other basket in here is one of my saved geraniums. And then moving on to the beds. So this bed is currently empty. In this bed we have some dwarf bean rondo, and they're kind of doing okay, but I'd like to see them doing better. And I think this bed and this bed are due for a feed, and I will use a seaweed feed for that. But great excitement, let me just come back. I have put in now my new bean arches. It's a little bit difficult to show you. There we go. So up and over between the beds, I've got 2 lots of bean arches. So we've got one between these 2 beds and then one between that bed and the long bed. And the beans that we've got in are, Ali, yet again, the 2 skunk pole black and white beans I had left from the original ones you gave me. Last year's were a disaster. One of them has survived. It's not looking brilliant, but it's trying its best. So everybody cross your fingers and toes for that one. This is just a Bolotto. We'll do all the beans. These, thank you to Jane Kelly, are my Gigantes. And they are romping away and looking really, really healthy. Again, thank you, lovely Jane. These are the Madeira Maroon. They are coming slowly, but they're coming. So only a few days ago they were lower than that first rung, if you like, of the ladder, and now they're just above it. So I'm hoping they're going to really take off soon. And then here we've got one of my absolute favourite beans, which is the Bolotto. And again, they're looking okay, but I think they could look a little bit better. So I'm going to give them a little bit of a boost. And then while we're on this bed, we have got carrots. There's a few different varieties in there. Some have been overwintered, so some should be getting close to harvest. And then there's some that I've sown in amongst them. Some of your standard longer carrot variety. I can't remember the variety, possibly early nonce. Can't remember. But then we've also got the little Atlas globe ones as well. Is it Paris something or other? I can never remember, can I? Every time I talk about them. Let me go and have a look. Bear with me. Paris Market Atlas, and they are around here. And they are, as I say, the little globe type ones. There's a bit of a gap here for something. There's a few little weeds there that I need to weed out. In fact, I think some of those might be straggler turnips from when there were turnips here. And then we've got a little bit close together, but they weren't looking brilliant in the pot, so I just moved them here. 3 sunflowers. They are too close together, but we'll see how they go. They might just hold each other up. I've grown sunflowers here in the Polytunnel before, and they were just delightful. Then in the corner, not the best specimens. I need to sow some more chard, but we've got this chard here that had overwintered, and it is coming back quite nicely. I'm just nipping the tops out, which I give to the chickens. This is some Perpetual Spinach. Again, not the best specimen, but I've got those younger plants to get in at some point. And then just in the back there, absolutely lovely, is the Volunteer Nasturtium, and it's looking really nice. And then in the bed behind me, so on this side of the bed are my parsnip seeds that I sowed recently. No germination on those yet, but fingers crossed. And then these are leek, which are actually looking awful. And I can't decide whether to give them a chance or whether to just give up on them. They were all sown at the same time. They were all transplanted at the same time. But I've got these little weedy ones. I've got one that's died. I've got one that's trying to bolt and it's flopped over. They were in the Polytunnel over winter, and I've mentioned this several times. I didn't do enough watering in here over the winter with one thing or another. So things aren't at the stage they normally would be for those that I've overwintered. But yeah, I think I'll probably give up on these, get those new seedlings in and sow some more, because I do love my leek. And then last but not least, we have got some more Brassicas. These are my mystery Brassicas that the labels have long gone, but one of my work colleagues is happy to take them as surprise Brassicas. I think they're cabbage or cauliflower, but as I say, they're not looking great. They need to get into the ground. We've got some leek seedlings here, and then the peas are looking really, really good. And I will be sowing some more peas shortly. Oh, goodness me, it's actually good to get out of that polytunnel and into the shed where it's a bit cooler. It's nearly 40 degrees in there at the moment in the polytunnel, and it's gone 5 o'clock at night. It's quite muggy as well, and humid. We've had quite a few storms and some real torrential downpours. But it's that kind of closeness that needs to be broken by a good downpour. I will be using my solar powered fan to keep those temperatures cool in the polytunnel, and what I tend to do is set the fan up, and once I've watered in the morning I also douse the floor because we've got the membrane down, and the combination of that water in the beds and also on the floor with the fan really does help to cool the polytunnel. I will be looking at investing in some shade netting this year as well. So I really hope that you've enjoyed this tour. I love this time of the year. Literally, you know, from a few weeks ago, everything is just exploding, isn't it? And the promise of wonderful displays of colour in the flower bed, the Wildflower Meadow, whilst it might not look particularly impressive at the moment, I'm so happy that we finally found a way to start getting that established, and hopefully it's going to get better and better as the years go by. Vegetables, it's not going to be long, is it? It's not going to be long before we start to harvest things. Obviously I'm getting pickings from the celery, we're getting bits of rhubarb, strawberries are getting closer and closer, and I'm really looking forward. As I say, those onions will be coming up soon, so we're getting to that time, aren't we, where things are starting to come. So do let me know in the comments below, where are you at with your gardens? Have you got successes? Have you got failures? How are you getting on? I don't like to use the term failures. I think everything's a learning curve, and every year is different, isn't it? Some things do, some things don't. I've had you know, slugs decimated a lot of my flowers, but as you can see, I've got lots coming to replace them with, and that's the great thing, isn't it, with growing? You know, every day is a reset day. Every day you can start by sowing some more seeds, and as I've said many times before, regardless of the outcome further down the line, nothing can take away the enjoyment that you've had from that, choosing what you're going to sow and grow, sowing the seeds, and the mindfulness and how enjoyable. I love sowing seeds, waiting for them to germinate, watching them grow from little seedlings. And of course, ultimately, we want to get a healthy, mature plant and either a lovely flower or harvest our vegetables. But you still have enjoyed the process, even if you don't actually get that end result that you were hoping for. So as ever, thank you so much for watching. If you are new to my channel, please do consider subscribing and hit that bell so you'll get notifications of all my latest videos. But for now, take care, and I'll see you all again soon.